He's probably on the bus.
I'll keep my eye open for him.
All right, are we going to wait for Brian, or should we get started? It is 7 o'clock right now. I'm happy to get started if we have a quorum.
Yeah, we got quorum. I think we should just get started.
Okay. Well, we'll call our meeting to order. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for our kind of special board meeting where we're going to be swearing in our board officers. We'd like to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd all rise and join with me in reciting our pledge, we'll get started. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That sounded about as good as the band trying to all play together. Glad they're all going to be back in person in September. So at least I hope they will be. I was happy to see the notification that we've got no mass and social distancing relief for our summer school students. So that was good. Our first item tonight is 2.0 oath of office for our elected members of the board, which would be Todd and Bill. Todd, let me see. I'm looking for you here on my screen.
AKA
And I don't, Annie, oh, there he is. Okay, Todd, I see you now. Welcome.
Thank you. Do I need to pull up the oath here in front of me somewhere?
I think we can pull it up on the screen here. Todd, is that possible?
I don't have it in front of me. Do you want me to find it real quick?
Actually, they have it in front of them. And so we vetted what it looks like. So each board member has a copy. And so I think they can read it into the record without prompting from the board chair. If the board is comfortable with that, unless they want just a nice echo forum. But I think each of the members has a copy of the oath of office.
I have one in front of me.
Okay, right. Well, if we're comfortable with that, Todd, we'll ask you to read the oath of office, please.
Okay. Do you want me to stand with the hand of the square or just here? I'm sitting.
I think you can do it just seated. That's fine.
Okay. All right. You want me to go ahead and just individually?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I, C. Todd Neville, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon, and the policies of Grants Pass School District Number 7 during my term. I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Todd.
Excited to have you. I believe we have the other three newly elected or re-elected board members that need to read theirs in as well. Is that correct, Kirk?
That is correct.
All right. So Debbie, why don't we have you start if you would?
I, Debbie Brownell, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon, and the policies of Grants Pass School District Number 7. During my term, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Debbie. Gary, I've got you next on my email. You want to do yours?
Okay. I, Gary Richardson, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon, and the policies of Grants Pass School District Number 7. During my term, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office to the best of my ability.
Thank you. And last but not least, Kathy.
I, Cassie Wilkins, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon, and the policies of Grants Pass School District Number 7. During my term, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you. So welcome and re-welcome to all of you on the board. We're excited to have you. Our next item is 3.0, scheduling of pre-termination hearing. And
I guess I'll let legal counsel, Bill Ransom is on the call right now, talk to you about the nuances of the challenges that we've had and where we are currently at with respect to the scheduling of the pre-termination hearings, both originally scheduled for July 15th, the first one starting at 3 o'clock. So Bill, go ahead and I'll let you speak to that currently.
Thank you. We had requests from the attorney who represented both the employees to reschedule the hearings from the July 15th date because he would not be available. After that, other communications came in from other attorneys involved. But the end result of all these communications is those requests for rescheduling were all withdrawn. So the July 15th date does not need to be rescheduled at the request of at all at this point. What we did have as part of that request was a request for additional time by the employees and their attorneys to speak, which seemed to be modest and reasonable. And so my hope would be today that the board would be able to confirm the process for that hearing, which, to summarize for everybody, just in case you haven't had a chance to look at everything, the suggestion, the proposal would be each hearing would last approximately 90 minutes. The hearing would commence with district administration, either administration or through council, presenting for 10 minutes. The employee or the employee's attorney or a combination of both having 30 minutes to respond, and then district administration or the attorney for district administration would complete the presentation with a 10-minute rebuttal or reply to the employee and the employee's attorney, and that's kind of where we're at. And it would be helpful, I think, for the board to confirm that process, and I can notify everybody involved. Seems to give everybody time to speak, but without drawing things out into too complicated of a procedure, since we're dealing with an on-the-record review of the materials. The only other issue I think that has been raised, and I think is a bona fide point, is setting a deadline or a time for submissions and information for the board from the employees or their attorneys. I understand there's a policy that requires at least 2 days before the meeting. I want to make sure that the board has plenty of time to review those materials, so we could set an earlier deadline to give you more time. I don't know how voluminous they may be, but that's where we are right now, and I think that's open for consideration as well.
So at this point, we would be looking for feedback from the board. One, what I heard from Council Ransom is that we will keep our current schedule as planned. We will extend the amount of time originally scheduled for the employees to speak should they need it. And if there is, if there is anything they might submit, right now we have said at least 2 days ahead of time. If the board would demand that you would like things sooner than that, if things are going to be submitted by these employees or their counsel. So we would be looking for any comments or concerns regarding that. Does that sound about accurate, Bill?
Yeah, that's correct.
Bill, this is Scott. Do you have any idea how much information they would like to submit? I mean, do we think that 48 hours would be enough to review that, or do we feel like we need to ask them to give us a week to review? I just don't know how much information they would like to submit to us.
Right. I mean, it should be more argument or positions than new evidence or anything like that, I would expect. Generally that's how this would work, but I don't want you to get a whole bunch of materials too late in the process. So maybe even the 15th, if we maybe the Friday before, that would give the weekend and give you some time. I don't know how much they're going to submit, but I do want you to have a time to have sufficient opportunity to review that at a fairness to them and yourselves.
I appreciate that.
This is Member Richardson. So I guess the part I'm still a little fuzzy on, I mean, we have a bunch of material, got a thumb drive that haven't managed to wade through yet, but that would be essentially the district's position, or is there stuff in that material that represents the two employees' positions?
Yeah, you've just got materials from the district at this point, except for what they might have submitted during the process and the interviews, et cetera.
So my concern with the process as laid out is that we have the district side. Generally, you want to hear from the other side. And for my part, I want at least a day to think about it. So that's why I'm talking about trying to get their materials in advance, because of the stuff that I'm aware of, it's sort of unusual to hear the other party's position essentially for the first time and then make the decision at essentially half an hour later.
So Bill, I guess I would ask for you to try to explain or re-emphasize the scope of what because this meeting that we're having in terms of a pre-termination hearing is not even required by law. And so the purpose of this meeting is I guess I would like you to explain the scope, and that in my emphasis being that it's not about the details of the investigation. It's not about, it's about whether or not the board supports the superintendent's recommendation based on the merits presented and then the counter arguments presented. And so I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
I mean, the decision will be based on the record. There's not going to, people are allowed to speak for due process purposes, but there should not be new evidence coming in at the hearing. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, basically that's what I'm looking for.
So if I understand this correctly, we are not judge and jury. We are simply making a decision to support the superintendent based on the information from the investigation, and really everything else is immaterial. Is that how we should look at this meeting, or what? How are we supposed to evaluate the meeting itself and our decision-making process?
Well, I think it's more akin to an administrative review process. In this case, you're as the board, it makes the final decision on the termination of employees in this situation, and the recommendation from administration. And so what the board will be looking at is the record in the matter, and for due process reasons that should include the employees' responses and arguments against the recommendation. But it's a hearing on the record. You're reviewing the records that essentially were before the superintendent and administration in making this recommendation.
So Bill, whether we uphold or overturn Kirk's decision, are there steps after that, or is this the final call?
Let's, there are other, if you uphold the recommendation of termination, the employees will be terminated. There are other statutory rights that the employees may have to further hearings before the board if that occurs.
Okay.
Well, given that, then Bill, I would encourage you to communicate with their attorneys and try to get us the information that they'd like to give us as soon as possible. I mean, I think for us to review that, if they really want us to have the opportunity to do that, we will need to see it as soon as possible so we can review it. And I think, as Gary pointed out, have a day or two to process all of the information so we can come in and make a decision. So the sooner the better. I would hope they wouldn't wait too long.
That's fair. Do we want to set a final deadline then to make sure everything's in?
Tomorrow.
Wouldn't a final deadline be the statutory 2 days?
Is the board okay with that? Is that enough time?
Well, I think if you said July 9th, which would be the Friday before that would give us about 6 days, if you will, that weekend, and then the few days leading up to the 15th. And that's 9 days from now, I'm sure. I mean, I'm assuming that they're working on whatever they're going to say. So I would hope that it wouldn't take too long to pull that together in 10 days, 9 days.
I support what you just did, the 9th. Was that what you said, Scott, the 9th?
Yeah, I mean, Bill,
Yeah.
does that seem like a reasonable timeline? Not
It seems
not
very
working in
reasonable.
this world.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
well then
does
let's
seem
ask them to
reasonable.
have it to us by the 9th so that we can review it.
Okay.
So I think I'm gaining consensus. I don't hear any objections to the 9th. I see enough board members here to call it quorum. I'm seeing a consensus that to give Bill a directive to ask for any information by the 9th. And if there's any objection to that, please speak out now and we'll move forward with that. I don't hear any objections. So Bill, if you could communicate that, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, I guess I'm questioning it, but I think it would be reasonable to me for the board to, since we have this on the agenda, to formally approve the process if we can through a vote.
So we want to.
So-
Is that what you're?
So we need, I think there's 2 motions to be made.
Cassie, would you like to make those for us?
I move that we accept the schedule for the pre-term hearing as laid out by Bill.
I second that.
I heard a second from Todd. Todd, you're kind of muffled, but I think that was you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Tanya, if you're on, could you give us a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Is Member Dale Grange on?
I don't see him.
Okay. Member Neville?
Yes.
Member Brownell?
Yes.
Board Chair Nelson?
Yes.
Member Coolman?
Yes.
Member Wilkins?
Yes.
Member Richardson?
Yes.
Okay. So that's for our schedule. And then we need to have a motion for the 9th of July as the deadline. Is that?
Before we proceed with that, I do see that Chris Bristol from the Courier is on. Chris, if you have not seen what that schedule is, it is part of our public communication. I don't think it's been released about what the procedures will look like. Just send us an email and we'll get that to you. It was not attached to this meeting agenda. So anyway, we'll get that to you. Just shoot us an email. So Scott, the floor is yours again there's a second motion being potentially proposed.
Okay. So I believe that the second motion needs to involve the deadline on the 9th of July for the attorneys to submit the rebuttals to the board for review. Do we have a motion for that?
I can go. So I move that we set the deadline for the attorneys to submit the rebuttals to July 9th.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Member Coolman, second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Do we need to set a time on the 9th so that we could actually get them?
Yeah, if we get them too late, it'd be hard for me to forward them. So since it's a Friday.
What's a reasonable time in
noon.
the lawyer world?
Well, my office closes at 3 on Fridays, but I still could, I mean, even 5 is fine. I think I think let's do 3.
Noon.
That gives me time to get everything
Should
out.
be
to-
noon.
High noon.
By noon? That's good.
So Cassie, amend your motion, say by noon.
Yes. I amend my motion and submit a second motion to set the deadline for July 9th for the attorneys to submit their rebuttal by noon.
Member Coolman will second the high noon.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further comments or discussion? All right, very good. Tanya, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Neville,
I saw a thumbs up there. He's
Okay.
muted.
Member Brownell,
Yes,
Board Chair Nelson,
Yes?
Member Coolman,
Aye.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Richardson.
Yes,
Okay, very good. We'll move on to our future meeting dates, which will be our board meeting on July 13th at 5 p.m. And then our special meeting, which we just talked about on Thursday, July 15th, and that will begin at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. And then Kirk, do we have a board meeting scheduled for the 27th?
We'll talk
Do
about
we
that.
have,
We'll talk about that on the 13th. If we feel there's impending necessity to do that, we'll keep that on the calendar. We typically have not. So a lot of my team tends to be on vacation, but I'm always available, and interesting times, we may need it. So anyway, so I would just let the board know we've worked really hard on making arrangements to have both public and Zoom meeting available. Our next meeting on the 13th will take place at Grants Pass High School and be in person and allow the public to be invited for future board meetings. I think there may even be a new House bill out there that requires us to live stream or make available to the public streaming meetings with their participation. So we're working diligently on that. We think we have a solution. So the next board meeting on the 13th will be in person with the public invited at the Grants Pass High School Library. So anyway, thank you, Dr. Bloomquist, for spending quite a bit of time making that happen. We appreciate it.
No problem.
so we have microphones for everyone, or how will that
Yeah,
work?
those cool little glowing devices that we have in the boardroom, we found a way to transport those up to the high school. We'll have 2 large screen TVs. It'll be new, different, and we'll navigate through it. We've been testing it already. Todd has assured me that we're in pretty good shape. So anyway, we appreciate your patience with that. And now that we're open back up without masks and distancing, that we can do this stuff. So anyway.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for putting the work in.
all right, it's exciting. Any other questions? Todd, can you unmute the other Todd? He is muted. There we go.
There he goes.
Okay. So, can you hear me now?
We
Yep.
can.
Okay, so our meeting on the 13th is going to be in the library. The 15th, where's the location on that one?
That will also be at the library.
Copy.
Yep.
That's all need.
I think from here forward, just because our current boardroom is so small and wanting to ensure public access and all that, we're going to plan on until we can make a bigger boardroom, we're going to plan on doing it to the library. So we're going to give this a try and go from there. But yes, future board meetings right now, we should plan on Grants Pass High School library upstairs. We're going to work on, making sure people are directing people to the upstairs as they need to attend. So yeah, I think we'll be in good shape.
And there's a elevator available.
There is an elevator available. We'll have a custodian and signs for that. So yeah, we talked about that already as well. Thanks, Debbie.
I thought you probably had that covered, but thank you.
Yeah, I didn't until today. So yeah, good question.
All right. We don't have any executive session, so we will adjourn our meeting for tonight. Thank you very much for your attendance. Congratulations to our newly elected and re-elected board members. And thank you for your participation. Lots of reading ahead over the next couple of weeks. And I will see you all on the 13th. And for Cliff and Gary, we are going to stay on this call and have a quick subcommittee meeting so that we can report back to the board on the 13th. So thank you all. We'll end our meeting.